In today's income tax class, we are going to discuss about voluntary retirement compensation under section 1010C. See, so far we discussed about gratuity, pension, etc. Yesterday we discussed leave encashment and retrenchment compensation. These are all the topics we discussed. Now we are going to discuss about voluntary retirement. See, we are all well aware that retirement scheme. Actually, that is not a retirement scheme, it is retirement. After the completion of some years of age, normally 58 or 60, I think now it is 60. A person completed the age of 60, he will get retired from his service. Whereas in the post globalization era, government introduced and initiated the scheme called voluntary retirement. Also the same is named as golden handshake. That is, the person at the age of 50, he will have the service for another 10 years. If he is accommodated for that employment, then the employer has to pay the amount of compensation for another 10 years. Employer has to pay the salary, other benefits, all the things the company, that is the employer, has to pay. Both the government or private employment, they have to pay the amount. So to save the amount, to avoid that problem, then government as well as some big companies, they are asking their employees for this voluntary retirement. What is that voluntary retirement? The employee himself coming forward for opting the retirement scheme. So it is called as voluntary retirement. Voluntarily he is asking the retirement. Who are all eligible for this? Recently I heard some 5 years back, one of my relatives, he got a VRS in BSNL. Like that, so many examples are evident for this VRS. Now, who are all eligible for this VRS and under what employment this VRS is followed? Number one, any public sector company, that is the companies own the companies having the share capital. If it is the public sector company, in that employees are eligible. Then any other company, so any company can introduce that VRS scheme. And local authorities, that is organizations owned by, if a person working in Chennai Corporation, if a person working in Perungalattur Panchayat, so like that, any local authorities. Then cooperative society, Tiruvallur Weaving Society, Perungalattur Weaving Society, like that, any cooperative society. Then universities, even educational institutions are also eligible for this. Universities established under section 3 of UGC. Then state or central government organizations, cooperative organizations, institutions with national and state importance. These are all the institutions are commonly noted for commonly opting that, commonly in having that retirement scheme, voluntary retirement scheme. See, if a person got retired, he is relieved from the service so early, so that period is compensated with some amount. So that loss of a service is financially compensated. That amount of a compensation that attracts the tax. And how to take that exemption? That amount is taxable, but how to take that exemption? See, in this case, a person, if he receives the amount of compensation, then he can claim the exemption. Under this, any amount received on voluntary retirement scheme or voluntary separation scheme is paid with some amount of compensation. That amount is taxable. However, the person assessee is eligible to claim the exemption. How to claim the exemption? Under section 1010C with rule 2BA is eligible for claiming the exemption. How? Number 1, what is the amount of actual compensation received? Number 2, the notified limit is 5 lakhs. Please mind it carefully. In gratuity also we had a notified limit. VRS scheme, this is VRS. Then leave encashment, we had a notified limit. So like that, for all these things we are having the notified limit. So here, number 1, actual amount received. Number 2, notified limit is 5 lakh rupees. Then number 3, 3 months salary for each completed years of service. So how many years of service he completed? If I completed 30 years, then for 30 years I am eligible to receive 3 months salary. Then fourth one point is salary at the time of retirement into number of months of salary left for retirement. So what is the salary and the number of month services left for the retirement? So these are the things we have to consider, and least value of the items of among these 3 things, right? From these 4 things, least value is taken as exemption. That exemption is under section 1010C. Already I told you, please take section 10 is the section notified for exemptions, that says the exemption for different categories. Here it is 1010C. Then another one is, I mentioned 3 months salary. Then in point D, salary at the time of retirement. So in these 2 things I mentioned salary. What is the interpretation for the term salary? Because you are all well aware that salary is interpreted in different ways for different items, for different cases. In different places it got interpretation in different ways. So here the salary that refers to basic pay plus dearness allowance to the extent it forms part of retirement benefit. Yes, of course, it is DASB. In simple, it is DASB. And commission based on turnover. So you please correlate these 3 things we are using in another 2-3 places. Basic salary, dearness allowance enters into service benefit plus commission on turnover, where number 1, in house rent allowance we used the same thing. Okay, so these things are considered as salary for this purpose. Here it is mentioned as last 3 months salary. That means before he is taking the service, last 3 months salary for each years of service. For every year, 3 months salary we have to consider. For that term salary, it consists of basic plus DASB, commission on turnover. These 3 things we have to consider. So once again I repeat, if the person opting the retirement scheme before the actual retirement caused because of age, if he is opting the retirement VRS scheme, then what the amount he received is eligible for claiming the exemption under section 1010C based on the conditions listed here. Of these 4 things, least value is eligible for claiming the exemption.